Hey guys, it's the Inspirational Power Hour with your host Chandra Wise, and back talking to some incredible artists. And so great to have new faces always joining us on the show. Today is no different. Listen, guys, I am talking to recording artist Jesse Stevenson. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing wonderfully, ma'am. I'm doing wonderful.
Good. Listen, good to talk to you today. Good to hang out and talk about new music. You have a new single that we're here to chat about one day.
One day, it's
One
it.
day, yeah.
We're finally here.
Awesome, awesome. So listen, we're going to talk all about that. But before we get into it, Jesse, I would love it. This is your first time on the show. I got to have you to just give our listeners a little bit of background to tell them a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you got started, all that good stuff.
Well, I am Jesse L. Stevenson, and I was born and raised in Orlando, Florida. In the big city of Orlando, Florida. It's really country. And I currently reside outside of the city of New York in
Mhm.
a little area called Nyack. And been here for going on 8.5 years, going on 9 years. But I'm no stranger to music and ministry. I've done music ministry for 38 years now, preaching ministry for 29 years.
Mm.
I've worked with churches and pastors and administrators and dealing with music ministry organization and praise and worship training, worship teams all across the country and traveling with pastors, sharing the stage with so many great people and I've also done music and things like that. With some other professionals. I've done Broadway. I'm classically trained, sing opera. And so I've been able to work with some really, really great people. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Mm. So, you got to talk to me a little bit more about that training, that classical training. Where did you study?
I actually studied at a college here in New York called Nyack College. It's a private Christian university, and but the School of Music had an Ivy League accreditation, and so I spent several years here. I really wasn't going for voice. I was actually going to study music composition because it's always been a dream of mine as a musician and an arranger to score for film. And so they started doing some digging and some researching, and they started seeing videos of me singing. And they decided that, hey, man, we'll give you a scholarship if you change your major. And so I was like, okay. And so I spent several years here doing classical training. And then, of course, throughout high school and middle school, I've always done choral programs and have gone that far to do that. So it kind of just came back full circle for me with classical training. So people are usually shocked when they see this big black burly man that sings gospel music be able to sing Conte Patiro or some Italian arias and things like that. So it's really cool.
Baritone?
Tenor.
Tenor. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am a tenor. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So, and I had to ask that because very similar. Started playing piano at 8. I have my bachelor's is in piano performance, and my master's is actually in choral conducting. So, very similar. Are you familiar with Moses Hogan?
I know the name. I
Okay,
don't know.
the composer deceased several years ago, composed a lot of spirituals that are still sung today, all
Yes.
that kind of stuff. I actually used to sing with him.
Mm.
And the very last recording that he did, I'm singing in the chorale with him on those last set of spirituals. So
Oh.
so just I think that's so awesome. I talked to some people. There's some people like Byron Cage and others that really have that training as well. Even Anthony Brown, if you listen to his music, you can tell the influence of that formal training. So I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure when people listen to your music, it has to be a big influence of your music as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me tell you what's even funny for me. I still keep in contact with one of our choral directors who came in on the last several years of high school for me, and he went off to go to the military and high ranking and done some really great things. And so we catch up from time to time. And so he sent me a message. He said, "Man, it's so incredible to hear your voice has evolved over these
Mm,
20, close to 30 years, since I've been out of high school. I'm pushing 30 years out of high school. And
mhm.
so hear my choral conductors, the person who, his name is Dr. David E. Martin, was kind of like the first wing of my choral programming in high school, who was the vocal coach for people like Brian McKnight and so many other people. And even him, he's like, I'm so proud to see that a student of mine, has evolved and is still doing well in this part of your craft. And so these are individuals. Him, the other choral teacher was Ted. His name was Dr. Ted Freeman, and they've been really instrumental. So to still be able to know that even though I can strike out and sing, I need thee, oh, I need thee, but then I can turn around and sing a hymn and sing it in opera, it's still a great thing, to be able to, maneuver to those points. Have thine own way, Lord, have thine own way, or
Mhm.
just some other aria, that so many greats, have sang, from your Pavaratis to, I guess so many to name. It's just incredible to be able to still be able to traverse through those worlds. And so I'm always grateful for my formal training.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about your music now, your gospel music. When, in addition to having that influence of the formal training, when people listen to your music, Jesse, what can they expect from your sound and your ministry?
My sound and my ministry, I'm always told, is rather unique. And so they're just going to get purity from me. I love God. I love his presence. I
Mm,
love getting lost in that place in his presence. And so often in my music presentation or preaching, I'm always asking, God, how do I give people Jesus in this? How do I allow them to see that I'm just a conduit by which I point them to you? And so that's always my desire, is to really just point people back to God, to create this atmosphere that people can understand. It's so necessary for us to know that God is the center of it all. And so this song, one day, believe it or not, um, anybody that knows me, Miss Weiss, they know that I train people to be able to capture the song of the Lord in a worship experience. And so my wife and my family, people that's been a part of my team, my singers, they all know when I'm in that vein. Everybody automatically whips out their phone and they start recording, because they're like, okay, we've never heard this before. We know that, we know it by now. And so one day was written in the middle of a worship service. I was leading worship. I never forget it. It was July 13th, 2014, and I was sitting in the middle of a worship service, and I was just so hungry to get lost in this moment. And this song was birthed, and so I sat and recorded it, and literally wrote this and the entire album. I sat on it. Life happened,
mm,
transition happened, family, losses, COVID. And it was in the middle of COVID. I got a word from the Lord that it was time for me to release new music. And so I trusted the word of the Lord. The Bible says, believe you, the Lord your God, and so shall you be established. Believe you, his prophets, and so shall you prosper. And so I was like, okay, I got to move on this word, because I can't miss whatever this is that God is doing. And so here we are one day.
awesome. Absolutely awesome. So, as you think about the way, like you're talking about over the last couple of years, especially with how we've experienced so much transition, so much change, life looks so differently now than it did a couple of years ago for people. And I believe now is such a prime time for people to, draw back to God more than ever. What is it that you want? What message would you like to leave with people, not just about this song one day, but what is it on your heart, I feel, that you really want to share with people?
Get back with God. God is the source of everything that we do. And one of the things that I realize, even in this day and age, with so much happening, that it's easy for people to be pointed at us. But
Mm,
it's important for us to get back to the habit of pointing people back to God. That's something that's really important for me. And I believe that's where we're really going to see real revival happen. Real revival is going to happen when we understand that the only way we're going to get through to God is through Jesus. And so, man, we got to get back to that place.
Absolutely, absolutely. So listen, we definitely want everybody to check out your music, your ministry, this song. Tell everybody how they can follow you and keep up with you.
Listen, you can follow me on social media at Jesse L. Stevenson. I have some real estate out there in the social media world. So TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Jesse L. Stevenson. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/Jesse L. Stevenson. Or you can go and follow me on my website, jesselstevenson.com.
All right, guys. So listen, if you are listening on one of our stations right now, we are about to take a listen to the new single from Jesse L. Stevenson, One Day. And you know what, Jesse? I would love it if you would set this song up and introduce it to our listeners. Just set it up from your heart.
The Bible decrees and declares, I think it was David that wrote, he says, better is one day in your courts, better is one day in your house than 1,000 places elsewhere. And so this song literally is me echoing the sentiments of that scripture. Better is one day in your presence is better than 1,000 places in paradise. That's the song.
All right. Thanks so much, Jesse, for hanging out with us today. We truly appreciate it. Make sure that you come back when you have more new music or more just great news to share with us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having us. And I appreciate you all for your support. Thank you, Ms. Weiss, for this time.
All right, guys. It's the Inspirational Power Hour. All right. That's it, Jesse.